Hey, everybody, welcome to Uniquely Lutheran Take Two. Hopefully, we have cleared our medical issues and we will be able to have at least a little bit of a mini show on on actually our Christmas edition of Uniquely Lutheran. I am Al Ernst. This is Jeff Gross, who is the pastor and leader of New Life Lutheran Church in Sarasota, Florida. Jeff, why don't you start it off with prayer?
Absolutely. Thank you, Lord, for sending us Jesus. When we strip Christmas of all of the other extra stuff, it comes right down to that story. And may that story be the light that shines brightest as we celebrate his birth. And we're so grateful that we have such a birth to celebrate. And bless each and everyone who's watching. And may all who watch and who are our friends and part of this ministry have a very blessed and very Merry Christmas. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, buddy. Well, I am going to just kind of cut straight through so that Jeff, you got to be ready for the weekend because this is, speaking as an entertainer, I know getting ready for big shows. Some of your big shows are coming up. But why don't you tell the people very quickly this week's calendar leading up to Christmas Day on Sunday?
Yeah, it never fails this time of the year. Could it be Christmas or my birthday? I always get some kind of ailment that makes me be brief. So I'll do the best I can without coughing. But I'm glad you're watching this so I can tell you that on Wednesday, we will be talking about the fourth Wiseman on our Advent service. We've been talking a little bit about the gifts of the wise men throughout this Advent series, and we'll wrap it up on Wednesday. And then on Saturday, I keep thinking Sunday, Saturday night, we will have our 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock services, both with candlelights, both with Holy Communion, and you're certainly welcome to be a part of our service. And then on Christmas Day, which I think will actually be kind of nice, at 10 o'clock, we will have a carols and hymn service for all who would like to be a part of that, and that'll be on Sunday.
Great. Now, that is live if you can be with us. We are at 8010 Fruitville Road in Sarasota, Florida. But Jeff also let our folks know that some people watch us
6 o'clock. We're going and 6 o'clock on Saturday,
which is Christmas Eve.
We will be broadcasting.
Streaming, and then we'll do our regular streaming on Sunday morning for the Christmas Day service.
Right.
Okay, so please feel free to join us. Hit us up on the messages there on YouTube. And those of you that have stayed with us throughout the year, even if you tuned in just for a few episodes, we really appreciate it. I want to say hello to some of my new friends that I have made, not only with a couple of the church shows that I did this week, but also with some of the Christmas corporate parties. I want to say hi to my friends at Cochran Mechanical in beautiful Elizabethtown, Kentucky. I was able to have the pleasure of being your entertainment for your big Christmas holiday event on this past Saturday night, and I really had a wonderful time, and thank you for having me there. Also, I want to say hi to my folks at St. Matthew's Lutheran in Chattanooga, Tennessee, who did a dessert and comedy on Sunday afternoon, raised over $600 for our ministry of our hurricane relief. So thank you to Pastor Terry.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you to Pastor Terry, and thank you to Hertz Rent-A-Car, who got me a decent car with fantastic gas mileage that I was able to hit the Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky, and then back into Florida without breaking the bank. And I guess also the Buc-ee's all over, that their gas was $2.15 a gallon. I'll take that anytime. But with all that being said, we're talking about gifts, we're talking about discounts, we're talking about all this stuff. I want to redirect and talk about the actual Christmas story. And since your Advent theme this year has been about the wise men and
Right.
this mysterious fourth wise man. You're going to do the big reveal tomorrow night. I almost feel like we need to stream that one tomorrow night because we've built this mystery wise man up to see what it is. So
real quickly, when I told this to my confirmation kids on Sunday too, we don't know how many wise men there were. We usually say 3 because of the 3 gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. It could have been more than 3. It could have been 12. We don't know for sure how many wise men there were. But tradition has given that assignment to 3 people. In the fourth one, it's not as fictitious as it sounds. There very well could have been a 4th wise man, but it is a story that was told a long time ago by Henry Van Dyke. And I'll tell you more tomorrow, but it's a nice story.
Wow, if I can make that over tomorrow night, I don't have a show. I might have to fire up the machine and stream it just for those of you that want to hear the big reveal. I mean, I feel like we are doing that. Anyway, well, let me back up a minute. And the reason I ask you all these things, since you have a theme, there's something that occurred to me in my miles of driving and thinking about the Christmas story, is that there's a big emphasis on when the wise men showed up and what they brought and everything like that. And what we've established is that Mary and Joseph, as the family, were not lower poverty beggars, but they also were not highly rich people. They were common middle class folks, and yet the kings and these people brought all these. To me, that's like getting somebody, designer purse or bag or something like that, when really what they can use. We'll put it this way: it's like giving somebody a gift card to Nordstrom's, when actually what they could really use is a gift card to Target or to Walmart.
Right.
So
Lululemon.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
get a 300 pair sweatpants.
Right.
Lululemon.
Well, I mean, we talked. Jeff and I had a personal had a marriage recently, and I gave a gift of a Target card rather than everybody always thinks you ought to give the newlywed couple. Well, when we got married some 40 years ago, we were given all these gift certificates for these high-end furniture places, of which there was nothing, when there's nothing we could use. I mean, because it wasn't enough of a gift certificate to go in and buy some real fancy piece of furniture. And we are, renters starting our lives off, of which we could have really used that money way better had they given us a gift certificate to a Target or a Walmart.
Sure.
So, and I believe that goes into the Christmas story, and that is, you see all those fancy damn gifts, and you're talking about a common people. What's the story there, buddy?
When Matthew writes the story of the wise men, how many there might have been, and he includes the gifts, gold, frankincense, and myrrh, the gifts reveal what the wise men thought of Jesus and how his story would unfold. The most disturbing of the 3 gifts, and I'll start with that first so I can get it off my chest, is myrrh. Myrrh was something that was often used to anoint a dead body. It was like not embalming, but it was something that had smell to it. Not typically the kind of gift you would give to a baby, obviously, but it also indicates that there's a belief that something's going to happen in the life of this baby, and it's not going to be perfect. But I'll go to the happier gifts of gold and frankincense. Frankincense is really incense that you burn, and it makes it smell really good, but incense is a prayer vehicle. It's a way of praying to God. You burn the incense and the smoke goes up and fills the room. And then, of course, the gold, which is not real practical, but it's indicative of the fact that they thought he was a king. Okay. So when you think of the divinity, the humanity, and the royalty of Jesus, the 3 gifts really reveal more of what they think of Jesus than going to Kids R Us and buying some bassinets and
Okay, so
strollers and things like that.
so what you can almost say is, as nice as those were, you interpret that as being a prophecy of
Absolutely.
what Jesus was to be.
Absolutely. They were following a prophecy to be there in the first place. Words that they may have found that were left, some people think, by Daniel, way back in the time when Babylon was the place where the people of Judah wound up. And also they followed his stars. They were stargazers, and so the following of the star and the prophecy, and then the fulfillment of that prophecy. Yep, you really. That's probably the best way to put it, Al. I'm glad you mentioned that. Prophecy, the fulfillment of prophecy. Absolutely,
Wow.
they're part of that story. They saw themselves as part of that story.
Wow, that is fascinating to me. Just because those are some of the things. Because we're always taught as Christians to make sure that because of our to the least of these, you've done it to me, feeding and helping people and very practical items.
Mm-hmm.
Very very practical. And yet I guess the myrrh is a whole separate thing. That's a real prophecy. But
Right.
the other gifts of a king, to me, it's similar to what, as Jesus begins our story towards Easter, ends up using the jars of and using, doing the wine and all those kind of things. Like, you, wasn't it always they would say you could sell that and give so much more to the poor, and
Oh yeah,
he said
absolutely.
no, sometimes you need to
Yeah, I'm
indulge
with you
in some.
now. Right. Yeah, when she poured the expensive, that's a great connection with the myrrh. The expensive ointment that they poured all over his feet, and she wiped it with her hair.
Right.
And one person, and I thought this was remarkable. It was a person, I believe it was like a confirmation age student, asked me, "Don't you suppose that now Jesus was in exile and he had to leave because Herod was after him and he had to move to Egypt? That gold served as currency to get him started in his life." I said, "That's probably one of the most profound theories I've ever heard, and it makes so much sense." So it could have actually at one point have been something that was used as a currency to
Kind of a little bit of both.
a little bit of both. They said, "Why not?" That's
So
a great,
once again,
great story.
our teaching, our practical teaching, is to learn that life is not about total poverty, but it is also not about excess. There is something in that middle ground to be had.
Sure.
Sometimes you need to have a treat, and sometimes you need to sacrifice. I mean, that's kind of almost what I hear there.
Sure, if you go to, and I'm looking forward to, now that I've got a daughter-in-law from Colombia, I'm looking forward to being able to visit and knowing that there are some places that are very impoverished that have these gorgeous, beautiful churches. And it's important to the poor people that these churches are beautiful. So they have a place that they can go to celebrate the presence of God. And to a person who's insensitively looking from the outside, they say, "Well, that's pretty extravagant. Couldn't they have used this for something else?" And the simple answer is no. It had to be. And there's a lot to be said for lavishing upon God a little bit.
Okay. Well, very fascinating stuff on that side of it, and then also about what our challenge of giving is. And one of the things that I really wanted to deal with in the Christmas story, was this whole idea of that Jesus brought our messages of that we are to do for others, no matter who or what they are, without judgment. I kind of had a situation that happened to me on the road. I was stopped getting doing something at a convenience store, and was approached by a homeless person looking for looking to see if I had any money, kind of thing. And my take, and I'm sure I'm going to get lots of people who disagree with me on that, and that's fine. My take on it has always been that I am not to judge what people do with the gift. I do believe, and I can't tell you where faith lies, but I do believe that everybody is going to be accountable for everything that they do. And in the sense that if I give somebody, a homeless person, $10 and they turn around and buy drugs or cigarettes or whatever, I understand. Yeah, did I get ripped off? Probably, but I think somewhere they are accountable for misrepresenting themselves as to saying they need money for food or doing anything like that.
Right.
And so what happened to me is there was some compelling situation that hit me immediately that goes, I don't normally have this happen to me. There's a reason. And so I did. I reached into my pocket and I gave the person $10, and it's done. It's over with. I don't know where they are. I can only tell you that it happened in outside of Bowling Green, Kentucky, and that's it. But what happened beyond that was very interesting. As I was then walking on to my car, which is now kind of a cool thing that, and I have to admit this, I've always been kind of paranoid with having some knee problems and hip and all these different things where I park now. And I never would have thought that 10 years ago, but yet I was feeling better. I had to park way out in this place. I'm on my way there. And after I have this interaction with this homeless person, another stranger comes up to me and berates me. Do you know what you just did? Do you know that you just enabled somebody to continue their drug habit? Do you know that, what? I mean, literally is just almost yelling at me as a stranger. And I was taken aback totally, obviously, by that. Now, they weren't threatening, physically, or that I thought I was not safe, but they were really, really jumping my case.
Was this a man or woman or what?
This was a woman, and they were jumping my case about it. That this just this just fuels the homeless problem, and all you're doing is you realize all he's going to do is go buy drugs with that, and he's not going to feed himself and all those kind of things. And I was just honestly, everybody always wants to say, oh, they got the clever retort and everything like that. I was stunned silence.
Yeah, I think I would be too.
And literally, I kept walking and kind of walked to my car and go, well, I did what I did. I think was the only words that I said to the lady, and got in my car and left. I mean, she didn't, she wasn't beating on the window. She wasn't. I mean, there wasn't any issue with that. It was just such a stunning kind of situation. And I thought, here we are at Christmas time. We're trying to share love. And also how we can't help it. We're human. We make judgments on people. That's just instant stuff in our head. But I was, for whatever reason, since this doesn't happen, I felt, I'm not one of these guys who always says God. I mean, I believe God put you in the right place at the right time for the right things. And, it happened. I still don't have a problem with what I did.
Nor should you.
But I was taken aback by it. And are we not supposed to help strangers?
Well, I'm going to actually quote my wife here. And we were at a corner, and she actually reached in her pocket and gave some money to somebody who was standing in the corner. And I probably was kind of like that lady a little bit. And because I know, too, that we have policies about giving cash to people and things of that nature for that reason. But she made this comment, I'll never forget it. She said, if I see somebody in distress and I don't help them, it's on my conscience. And if they abuse the money I give them, it's on their conscience.
Yep.
And I thought, wow. But to actually make an effort to approach somebody in a parking lot after you watch a whole transaction occur, which is probably not the first one she saw occur, we don't know how he's going to spend the money. My guess is $10 isn't going to buy him a whole lot of cocaine.
Right.
And I mean, we don't know. It's on his conscience. It's on
Right.
his conscience. And just like if you didn't help that person out, you probably feel pretty lousy.
Well,
Because there was a moment where you decided, my conscience is telling me I want to help somebody in distress, because it seems to be that's the right thing to do. It's sad that it has become such a conundrum. It really is.
I'm conflicted. I'm conflicted because I do want what we say in Christianity, which is, I want to provide. It's just like when somebody asks me political or government theory and everything like that, we all go to all these different corners, and I don't want to build. I don't want to
have to go to those corners in this case.
No, but what I'm saying is when somebody says, "What do you believe?" I believe the government is supposed to govern, and the reason that we have food stamps and policies to help people is because we as people, and we as the church, have not helped those people. We have not we were given the commission to earn our money and to do this and to do the job.
Right.
And what has happened is that job has become so large that we end up looking then back to the government to do those things. I know I don't want to get way into the weeds on this part of it, but everybody always believes that somebody on one part of the political trail is totally against any kind of social services programs, and then we have these other people who believe that the government should provide everything for everybody. And I would tell you, I'm one of these guys that probably says the government is there to govern. We have not done our job as people.
Well, if we go back to your story, I think the big assumption is that's what person is making is that there is a character flaw in this person that caused him to be homeless, as opposed to circumstances beyond his control. We know homelessness runs the whole gamut, from drug addiction right down to somebody who lost their job, and everything in between. And you can't paint the picture of homelessness with the widest brush known to humankind.
Right.
But you certainly can say, what do I hope to accomplish? I hope he can buy a hamburger. And let's hope and pray he did. Or I hope he can buy a salad or something.
And let's hope he chose that. But it's not up for me to judge to that person what they do. It's up for me to say this is a brother or sister in need, regardless of what their religion is, regardless of whether they believe what I believe, and I am to reach in my pocket and give, and not and move on. And but I did have this situation happen, and I thought, the whole reason that Jesus came to this earth was to allow us to have the flexibility, I believe, to give and to do for others. So
yeah, I don't think he put us on earth so we can accost people in parking lots who are just innocently following their conscience.
Yeah.
I think time could be better spent than coming up to you and giving you a hard time for doing what at the moment your conscience told you to do.
Right. And like I said, I really do believe that God puts us in places, in situations, and there are then choices that we as human beings have to make. And that
would be a great short film.
That
would be a great short movie. And I hope somebody from the Cannes Film Festival in France is listening to us so they can turn it into a work of art. Because I think a 5-minute scenario gives us hours of conversation. Right. And charity is a word that is synonymous with love, and that's why I like to say the one thing about the King James Bible: the word for charity and the word for love are the same word.
Right. That is great.
Yep.
And I think that with that, we leave you wishing you and your family a very Merry Christmas and an opportunity to give and also an opportunity to celebrate. And until next week, which will be our post-Christmas New Year's show, you've been watching
Uniquely Lutheran.